Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to a new episode of the Mini Mirror Show. On this podcast, we talk about life philosophy, emotions, spirituality, and so much more. I'm your host, Amira Sookram, and I am the author of the Guilt-Free Goals book, and I'm also a feelings-based yoga teacher and writer. So today we're going to talk about what feelings-based living actually is. And I'd like to call this episode kind of like the 3x3. So we're going to talk about 3 reasons why we want to practice feelings-based living. And then we're going to talk about 3 steps on how you can actually practice it. So just diving right in. Feelings-based living is the idea of using and understanding and tuning in to our emotions and feelings so that we can make decisions based on our emotions. I like to say that emotions are messengers. Yes, emotions are energy in motion, but they're also messengers. And I think that our soul speaks to us through our emotions. So in feelings-based living, we can actually prioritize our emotions and our decisions. This is a great way to tune into yourself and also make decisions that align with who you want to be. I think so often we make decisions based on what society wants for us, what peers want from us, what our friends and family are doing, or even just what we see on social media. We see so many people on social media doing things, and then we compare ourselves to them. And that kind of warps our idea of what we want to do for our own lives. So many people are traveling or following the script of going to school, getting the high-paying job. And when I say high-paying job, I usually mean high-stress job as well. And I think we forget that those things come together. And then they get married and they have kids. So this script is changing as we allow ourselves to tune more into our feelings and make decisions that are best for us. This is something that I've learned because I've practiced it. There are so many times in my brain where I want to do something because other people are doing it, or because I see so many people doing things that I'm maybe not able to do as much because I'm an entrepreneur. And my lifestyle is going to be different because of that reason. And although I am so happy with it, I think that there's also emotions that come up around comparison. So feelings-based living helps you tune back into yourself. And there are 3 reasons why we want to do this. So the first reason why we do this, which is very relevant to me right now because I'm actually nursing like a cold and trying to get better and trying not to lose my voice. So the first reason is because we get sick when we don't tune into our emotions. Our body stores so much energy, and if we hold on to certain emotions, or if we actively don't make choices that align with our soul's path, we are going to feel it in our bodies. Our bodies start to almost scream at us until we stop to listen. So for me, just a personal example, I dealt with a lot of skin issues at the beginning of this year. And I had allergic reactions to things and had to do a candida cleanse and just cleanse my body and my skin. And it's because of certain relationships that I was holding on to, and I was holding on to energy around those relationships. As soon as I released, my skin started to clear up and I started to heal. So our emotions actually can make us sick if we don't stop to listen or if we don't change paths. The second reason we do this is so that we can have better relationships. Feelings-based living helps us make decisions that align with our own true needs, wants, and desires. And sometimes we get into relationships or we choose relationships based on what other people want for us. And the real key here is that when we honor our emotions and our feelings, we're actually building a better relationship with ourselves first so that we're able to have better external relationships. And I know it's easy to just want the great relationship right away, but we also need to honor ourselves in that because the great relationship isn't going to happen if you aren't honoring your needs, wants, and desires. Reason 3 was kind of put in there. Feelings-based living helps us make decisions. Just simply put, I talk to and connect with a lot of people online who ask me questions that kind of relate to them having to make decisions and outsourcing that decision to somebody else. So when you get in touch with your feelings, it's really just like inner sourcing those decisions for yourself. This is something that throughout writing my book, I've had to practice, and it is something that has changed my life completely. If you know anything about astrology, I have like a Libra stellium, so I have a lot of placements in Libra. And Libras are notorious for just not being able to decide things because we're so worried about what other people want. And if we're so worried about what other people want, we're not necessarily tuning into ourselves and owning our decisions and what we want. So I think it's really important to practice feelings-based living to, one, just work on removing stuck energy from the body or releasing it or even just shifting it so that we don't get sick. Two, we want to build a better relationship with ourselves so that we can own our needs, wants, and desires in relationships with others, and that helps us build stronger relationships. And three, we want to make decisions. As an adult, life is all about making decisions, and we have to know how to do that for ourselves. So in my book, I talk about this kind of 3-step process of how we can get connected to feelings-based living. And I want to do this really quickly because I'm trying to do short episodes, and 2, we're going to dive into all of these 3 reasons as the podcast goes on. So the first step is a part of emotional literacy, which means that you name your emotion when it comes up. So 1, you feel your emotion, you name it, you honor it, you acknowledge it, you validate it, and you start to explore why. The second step is looking at why you're feeling this way and what that emotion is telling you about your needs, wants, and desires. I keep repeating this and we'll get more into it, but if you have a need in relationships for freedom, you have to be able to communicate that to your partner. You have to be able to own that need. Otherwise, you're going to continuously get into relationships that don't feel good for you because you're not honoring who you are as a person. And you're not honoring your desires for what you want in relationships. Which brings me to step 3. And that's when you actually figure out your needs, wants, and desires, you learn how to take ownership for them. And that's emotional responsibility. So you take responsibility for what you need, want, and desire, and then you learn how to set boundaries within yourself or communicate it to other people. This may sound really simple, but it's definitely a process that has been working so well for my life as somebody who just didn't honor my needs, wants, and desires as a child and just cared so much about what other people thought and just like was such a people pleaser and also perfectionist. These 3 steps help so much. 1, you name your emotions, you sit with them, you honor them, you validate them. 2, you let those emotions speak to you as messengers to tell you about your needs, wants, and desires. And 3, you communicate and set boundaries with other people so that you can own your needs, wants, and desires. So at the end of the podcast, I always want to leave you with a question to ponder and think about because part of feelings-based living is actually being able to reflect on your life. So the question today is, have you ever made a logical decision that never sat well with you? Like on paper, this decision made the most sense, but internally and feelings way, it never felt good. Like you just didn't agree with it. For me, it was studying computer science. That made so much sense on paper, but I actually hated coding. It's also about purchasing things. A lot of the times when I see people buying like maybe a designer t-shirt, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then I look at the price and I'm like, no, that's okay. But would I go spend that money on like a Bad Bunny ticket, like same price? Yeah, I would, because I value and need experiences in my life that make me happy. That's a bit of a way to think about it. Logically, it might not make sense what you're doing, why you're doing, but feelings based and in your body, it will make sense to you. And it's time to start to own this within yourself. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you, for all the love and support that I've been getting on the podcast already. Please leave a comment telling me your one decision that, just never sat right with you because it was too logical and not feelings-based. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being here. So grateful for you. Bye.